Yo, what is going on, everybody? We in like go mode because we got so much to cover. Abe's coming through for at least hopefully half an hour. He is on super dad duty, so maybe even shorter than that. But yo, listen, our truth news. Dana White is officially promoting Canelo and Bud in Las Vegas. Keyshawn Davis and the Davis brothers, are they done in boxing? Was that enough yesterday for everybody to just never get behind him again? I don't know. I don't know if that's even fair, but we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a whole lot more. So, uh, Yo, crazy night last night, bro. For real. Like, I mean, first of all, the R Truth news we'll get to talk about what's going on, what we know about his return. And then obviously we'll talk about last night's fights. Mason, Abdullah, poor Norfolk, bro. Poor Norfolk, Virginia. Man, they could not catch a break, bro. Most times when an event comes through like WWE or UFC or Top Rank or something, bro, you want them to be like, "Oh, yo, do you when y'all coming back?" Yo, this time, bro, they're probably like, "Top Rank, please never come back. You don't have to come back here." In fact, if you want to take Keyshawn with you, bro, crazy night. Hooney won. Yeah, speaking of the Booker, man. What is going on, champ? You hear me?
Yeah, hold on. You hear me now?
Take your time. Yeah, I got you. I
Yeah.
got you.
What's
Yeah,
good?
champ. Listen, let's do it because we got so much, so quickly, so much time, so much to talk about. Real quick, topic start at the top. Our truth. Work or not a work. He comes back last night. Abe, talk us through it. What did it mean to you? And if you want to throw in a special shot at all the people that were saying I told you so, go ahead.
Hey, listen, man. Um, so they said that our truth didn't got released, but they never said Ron Killings got released, right?
Yikes.
So, and then there's Ron Killings shirts merch on the website now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, bro. They can play it that way if they wanted to. It works. Was that necessarily the case? I don't know. I think that the public fallout from the original um, letting go was so loud that they had to bring him back,
Mm,
and
I agree.
and it could have also been um, after the fact, maybe Cena pushing a little harder because apparently Cena was like, "Yo, not to do this," but then he was the one that kind of pushed for our truth to have that match with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
See, okay. So look, I don't know what you've heard yet, and I've heard something. Sean Ross Sapp has reported from the beginning that there was no way he thought that this was a work. Never. He thinks obviously what happened was the massive amount of support, both internally and from the fans, led to a quick 180 from WWE. And there was a tweet last night, or I'm sorry, an Instagram post. I don't know if you caught this, but Ron Killing's son's name, who I don't know how old he is, so I'm not going to say his name, but obviously they share the same last name, posted on IG, "Stop the cap," with a picture of Triple H from last night's press conference. And during that press conference, at that moment, highlighted in closed caption, was the moment that Triple H responded to the R Truth question and said it's all part of the show, indicating that this was all storyline. And again, Ron Killing's son, with a very matter of fact response, "Stop the cap," because it was cap. They weren't going to renew him, and then they realized, oh crap, we created a dust storm, And this is also the perfect time to bring him back. Like, let's be honest, Money in the Bank's main event without that moment, I mean, it's nothing. It's raw. It's a raw match. Um, Abe, do you think that it's important for the company to establish that this was a work or not? I mean, to be able to be the company that's willing to use storyline on the dirt sheets about people getting fired when that happens all the time, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that they are going to ever commit that far. I know they're pulling back the curtain and they're coming out with the show and everything else, but something like this, I think they may revisit and pull back the curtain a year or two from now, but right away, no, it's not happening. It's not happening, Captain. And I'm gonna tell you that this is going, and I'm trying to think of an example where this has happened, but TKO is pretty much like chasing headlines to make a quick buck with these
Oh
things.
shit. You think so?
Yeah, so they're like, okay, well, you know what? There's so much heat on this situation. Let's bring back our truth, slap some merch on, and let's try to
Bro,
capitalize off of all of this, get a
oh my
little
god.
money, and then we figure out what we're gonna do with them after.
Uh-oh, Abe. I don't know if you know what you I don't think you realize what you just did. See, at times you do these bookings where you pull out my Hulk character, right? Marky Mark, but you just pulled on the wrong string, my friend. You just unleashed Conspiracy Mario.
Mm.
And Conspiracy Mario, oh man, he needs to get put back in the cage ASAP. Listen, all I know is in what you just said about our truth and TKO's, let's not say desperation, because the company's desperation to make money isn't necessarily predicated upon any one quarter, right? So, that's not the case, but their willingness to make a quick buck, which I think is a very fair way to put it, by the way. Last night it was Dana went ahead and told everybody that he, as part of TKO, will be promoting Canelo and uh Bud. And
Hmm.
I want to ask you about this as the final topic, but the TKO brand blew up after that. It became trending in several outlets. Was this a coordinated move, do you think? Like, are we seeing like massive like entertainment coordinations meant to fulfill the, success of this conglomerate?
Yeah, I mean, like if you put it that way, listen, one rolled right into the other, right? Like
Yes,
it went
exactly.
money in the bank, our truth. Oh, our truth is back, blah, blah, blah. And then now all of a sudden, Dana White, oh, Dana White is going to be promoting Canelo Crawford. And this all falls under the same umbrella. So yeah, you're right. I think it's all coordinated, all domino effect, because now the thing that we're talking about today is our truth, money in the bank, Dana White, Canelo Crawford.
Absolutely, bro. Listen, I know we got to burn through the topic, so I want to just real quick ask you about Jacob Fatu. Turned face last night. I know you were a strong advocate of it. Two things. One, did it go well for you? I know it was like a mix of comedic, which sometimes is hard to tread that line. Also, what are your expectations for the kind of heelish face run that Jacob Fatu can accomplish?
So I'm gonna tell you, I thought it was the right move to make, but I also felt like it was too long. That specific segment of Jacob Fatu with Solo was too long. It was stretched out too long. It almost
Mm.
kind of it almost sucked the air a little bit out of the room a little bit
Whoa,
because it took a little too long at the end. Like Jacob
sure.
was stalling and kind of dragging it out a little bit. To be honest with you, like it almost that lull almost took. I'm not saying almost, but it took away from the match.
Wow, really?
Yeah, for me it did. Like it was so much of a lull that I forgot about everything that happened before that.
Fair point. Fair point. That's a fair point right there. I see. Real quick, to me, what took me out of the match was Penta standing on top of the ladder for like 30 seconds as this huge overproduced sequence happened. And don't get me wrong, it was badass, but it looked crazy. And that took me out. I felt like every second that we had to wait for that turn added to like the comedic aspect. And Solo did it really well. I don't know. I was hoping you were going to be singing Solo's praises a little bit.
No, he did his thing. I don't know if the Solo comedic act and Jacob Fatu's seriousness mesh well.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I just don't know that. Like it feels like it's two completely opposite, which they are. I just don't. It just doesn't feel like it meshes well. Not in the way that they've done it inside of a match. Maybe backstage, maybe in a
Okay.
promo.
Okay.
I can get that, but it just didn't play out the way I think they hoped it would when that stuff was happening in the match.
Got you. Got you. Yeah. Listen, I wasn't sure if we were going to get it. I mean, look, bro, you and I sat on these airwaves through the entire Tiffany Money in the Bank run, where every PLE we got duped in her cashing in over and over and
Mhm.
over. So I didn't want to continue to see Jacob Fatu not know if he loves or hates his cousin today. And so I'm glad they did it. And I guess the fact that I expected it to go longer, that meant like I gave him room on the segment. Like, okay, the segment can go long because I thought we weren't going to get this for another month, honestly. So I think it worked out. But as a face, tell me if you think I'm being too overzealous. Okay. I think he has the ability. Jacob Fatu, based on the reactions he got, based on how strong he looked against everybody else in the ring, this could be a Stone Cold Steve Austin level heelish face run. Something we haven't seen since Austin.
If anybody's gonna do it, it's gonna be him. Um, Let me tell you though, I thought that they were going to pull the trigger and have Jacob Fatu just grab the briefcase. That's what I thought he was going to do. And if they would have done that, that would have been the move to make. I understand Seth Rollins getting it, of course. But if Jacob, when he looked up, I thought he was going to climb the ladder, grab the
Yo, you're the
briefcase.
third person to say that to me. Yes, the Brock Lesnar booking would have worked so well. And somebody told me this. This is the line right here. Michael Cole, after he grabs it, and all the wrestlers are around the ring looking at him like, what the hell did you just do? And Michael Cole says, yeah. And who's going to take it from him? Right there. Boom. You put that target and you put that heat on that kid's back. Bro, last night, Abe, it didn't land for you. And that's fair. But it did land, I think, for a lot of casuals. And I would be willing to say that last night was Jacob Fatu's 1995 King of the Ring moment, Stone Cold Steve Austin cutting the promo on Jake the Snake. Now, obviously, this wasn't a promo, but it was the same sort of impact that a heelish move has. And moving forward, you're a face. I don't know. What
Um,
do you think?
I wouldn't go that far just yet. I need to see what happens after,
Okay.
right? What
Predicated
happens
on booking.
what happens after is going to determine whether your comparison is right or not. Right now is a little early because listen, in all fairness, at the moment, no one knew that Austin was going to take off the way he did, right?
Very
They just
true. Very true.
they
Oh,
knew it
good
was
call. Good call. So
they
it's
knew it
not
was
really
a
something you can see and put your finger on. It has to be something that you do afterwards. Okay. Okay. I
afterwards you
get you.
could then you can scale back and say, "Oh, this was the moment when it all started." But you can't
Hell
do
yeah.
that until you have that run.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Mex, I see you right there. I'm going to bring you on. But real quick, I want to ask you, Abe, because I know like we got a limited time here. So I'm going to run through these topics and then go back to them. Keyshawn Davis, the Davis brothers. Whoa, what a crazy weekend. Keyshawn goes from being the champ to losing it on the scale to not fighting or getting paid, his opponent getting paid, guaranteed a title shot later on. Then his brother, probably the most touted of the other brothers, loses to Nair Albright last night. And honestly, he got worked in ways that it's like, bro, I don't know. and then him and Keyshawn reportedly jumped Nair Albright last night. Footage that's captured on ESPN and shown by ESPN. That was the crazy move right there. And it showed, and they captured and narrated Keyshawn leaving his baby, his newborn, to scuffle, only to return. That was the most heartbreaking thing I saw, to be honest with you. Everything else was like typical boxing. That right there was like, ugh, fuck. Like, I don't have kids, but that shit was crazy. I don't know a single father that that would have done that, honestly. But Champ, what do you think of Davis? What do you think of the whole situation? Break it down for us real quick.
Man, listen, it's you know, I think it was Bob Arum had said that afterwards, after the weigh-in, he said, "I've seen people where they struggle to make it, and then they came over." He was like, and I'm paraphrasing, of course. He said, "When I saw him and he didn't make it, he wasn't trying to make it." And there's a difference in that, right?
Definitely.
Um, I think that, and this is just me speaking, there was a little bit of arrogance there, a little bit of arrogance in the sense where he's like, well, if I come over, there's no way they're gonna take me off the main event. I'm filling the house, as Cody Rhodes would tell Roman Reigns, right? Like, thank you for the house. Like,
Yeah.
Keyshawn is filling the house. So why would you remove me from the main event regardless? You've seen it in so many instances, right? Where that happened, where
Yes.
the fight went on. And then on top of that, there was, negotiating like the terms after. And that also was, there was some arrogance to that too, which at that point they was like, yo, we're not doing this. And with all that happening, sheesh, like, I mean, he showed flashes of like immaturity in the past. You've seen that in fights. Like, that's not an opinion, that's a fact. You've seen it in fights where he's done stuff and the referees had to push him back or say
Yes.
something to him and stuff because there
Yep.
was some immaturity within the fights. Um, all of that was kind of building and building and building. And listen, this it came to the head with this. He was obviously frustrated. Then his brother got beat in a fight that there was some folks that was telling me yesterday that it was a real 50-50 fight and that he might lose. There was
I
some
heard the
folks that
same
was
thing. I
some
heard the
folks that
same
was telling,
thing.
and so he got beat. So basically there's an embarrassment within the whole umbrella of the Davis family on that
Yeah.
night. And so all that builds up, and then you get, whatever happened in the back, whether it was a headbutt, whether it's whatever the case may be. One thing is for sure, there was a confrontation between Davis and Albright's family. Period. And so just it was uncalled for. And I guess let's see what happens. Will Top Rank cut him? Will they sit him on the shelf? They got a new deal coming up. Is he part of that? I don't know, man. It's just a lot of
A lot of
question
variables.
marks there.
Got you. Yeah. Great breakdown on that. Last thing I want to talk to you about before I bring Supermax on, and if you can stay for the R Truth rest of his R Truth conversation, great. If not, I'll let you go. But back to the Canelo-Bud. We heard Dana White wasn't going to promote it. Then now he is going to promote it. Then he wasn't. Now he is. Officially last night, he said after UFC 316 that he was. Then he said he'd leave some details coming out soon. You on your X account reposted Turkey's post basically saying that the announcement for Canelo site, location, everything will be done tomorrow. Abe, what are you expecting to hear tomorrow? Just based off of your own intuitions, and what do you think happened? Can you tell us if there was any sort of situation, or was just this a situation of boxing writers and fans looking way too deep into something?
Yeah, to be honest with you, man, sometimes Turkey, like his actions remind me of someone that's trying to book like Triple H.
Oof.
And the reason why I say that is because, like, if certain stuff comes out and he hasn't quote unquote booked it, then he changes it. So I'm gonna give you an example. Like, who is it? They just announced featherweight is gonna fight Sam Goodman.
Oh yeah.
Who is it? Let me pull it up. So, oh, Nick
I
Ball.
got you.
Nick
Nick
Ball is
Ball.
gonna
Nick
fight.
Ball.
Nick Ball is gonna fight Sam Goodman. Nick Ball, from what I'm told, was lined up to fight Luis Neri, and that Neri had signed the deal and everything, but that had gotten out there like about 2 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden, Nick Ball's fighting Sam Goodman, who's coming up from super bantamweight. You know what I mean? Like, it just, mind you, Sam Goodman was kind of primed to fight in a way later in the year. So,
Exactly.
and I had just talked to George Rose a few days ago from No Limit, and that's what they were kind of like implying, but he didn't really say much. And that could have been cooking
That deal. Yeah.
the Nick Ball could have been cooking. So, but I feel like that's how he rolls, and so the things came out beforehand, whatever, and he shut them down, and or he likes to feed people stuff to see what they say and what to react. He
Damn.
likes to play these little games, kind of like with the strings, right? um I think tomorrow we get September 13th, Las Vegas, Canelo Crawford, T-Mobile.
Worst kept secret in the game, you think?
Worst kept secret in the game. I think that's what happens. And yeah, and then we'll kind of see what happens from there, because UFC was pushed back to October. So
I saw
there's
that. I saw
there's
that, and I was
nothing
surprised they did that.
there's nothing
Okay.
nothing getting in the way of that.
One final question about it, and you can just summarize it if you want. You don't have to go into details if you don't want to. Success of Dana White being able to pull this off, in a way that would have matched the success of a Oscar or a Tom Brown or anybody at the upper echelon, top rank, whatever. What are the odds that Dana pulls this off without a hitch? Or is it kind of
Hmm.
already laid out in front of him and it's kind of hard to mess it up?
I think it's kind of hard to mess it up, but he's gonna run into boxing problems
Okay.
along the
I like the
way.
way you put that.
There are things that happen in boxing that don't happen in any other place. Whether it's medical stuff, whether it's press stuff, whether it's venue stuff, whatever the case may be, he's gonna run into those type of issues. It's a little easier to do it when you're the guy and everybody has to report to you. But when you have all these other different folks involved, then it's not so easy. So, like,
Oof.
for instance, so I don't know, like, promotionally, where Canelo and Crawford fall under. Is that going to be? Is it? Are they falling on the Queensberry? Are they falling on the Matchroom? Because Turkey's not a promoter,
No.
right? And so, if TKO and Dana is promoting the fight, then are Canelo and Crawford underneath that umbrella for
TKO.
promotional
Yeah.
purposes?
That's a
Or are,
very interesting
you know what I
question.
mean? Like, there's some details in that, right? And so, because of the details in that, there'll be other people involved. And so other people involved means more people to have to answer to or have conversations with, right? So it could get a little messy. Or it could be like Turkey might just say, hey, listen, Dana's gonna do everything. Don't worry about it. We'll give you a little check or whatever. And then that's it. But if that happens, Dana might run into problems, and then he might need to rely on those other guys to help him.
Abe, you do this every effing time, dude. Every effing time you come on for an impromptu, at the very end when you're about to leave us, you drop the topic that we could go on for another hour on, bro. God, I have like 19 questions in my head. Listen, Mex is on. Those are the topics that I wanted to chop up with you real quick. You got to go, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. I just wanted to chat real quick with Super Max if he wants to get into
Awesome,
anything.
awesome. Yeah,
Okay.
Mex, you there?
Yo, yo.
Okay, so I just want to reiterate real quick what's going on here.
Mhm.
Mex demanded his flowers last night, which I did give him because he said at the very beginning, the day after our truth and all this happened, and he saw me and a bunch of others mark out, he made it very clear he thought this was a work. Now, I don't think he thought it was a work last night. Okay. And at
Keep
the
in
end of the
mind, in
day,
the middle of the chat during when you
sure,
asked what will be the
that's fair.
biggest pop of the night, I said when
That's fair.
twice
He
I
did it. He did.
screenshots it.
He did.
When our
He did.
truth returns and when our truth comes to help Cody Rhodes, those will be the biggest pops of the night.
Very true. And you had the receipts, and that's great. However, what we've learned now is you were wrong, right? You thought that this was the company that was like orchestrating and protecting everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But really, what it was
Mm-hmm.
they did let him go, and they realized
Mm-hmm.
how bonehead of a move it
Who
was
so
that they had to
who's
immediately bring
verified
him back.
this? Who's verified this besides PW Insider or Pro
And
Wrestling
Sean Ross
Torch?
Sapp. I can tell
Mm-hmm.
you, the half a dozen staff, the dozen or more wrestlers that had personal conversations with our truth, where he was reportedly felt humiliated and betrayed by the company. That's part of the evidence. Also the fact that literally nobody knew, and then also Ron Killing's son putting out on Instagram last night with a snapshot of Triple H stop the cap when Triple H tried to make it seem like this was all part of the storyline. So if you still think it's part of the storyline, Mex, and I'm being dead serious, please give us the booking. Tell us what's going on, dude, because this was crazy. Are you quiet? Okay, I know Mex isn't not talking. There's no way. He must have dropped off or something because
Probably
there's
dropped
no
off.
way after I said that he wasn't gonna say something, bro. He got it. Yo, honestly, I feel like he's going back quiet and he's coming back with something to like, yo.
Yo, man, I gotta roll.
Hey, appreciate you, big dog.
All right,
Thank you,
man.
man.
All right, peace.
I'll talk to you tomorrow. Yo, that was Abe Fights ATW. Mex, you there?
Okay, my bad. I had a call come through.
Oh no, it's all good. So okay, what I had asked you was, tell me what the booking is because right now, as I understand it, Mex, and I'm only saying this because I want to make it very clear what I think you're thinking. I think you thought this was a work, and so did I as of last night. Now today, I realize it's not a work. Tell me how is this booked in your head, and how is this still a work?
It's very simple, man. Of course, our truth Thunder. That's how you work. These are old school tactics, and Triple H has been on record several very adamant that he wants to, get rid of the moles, get rid of the leaks. He's tired of the dirt sheets. They are working. They are working the sheets now because this is how they tear down the trust. Right now, everything's in question. There's gonna be. This is gonna take a while. I know you're gonna believe the report you hear, but I'm telling you right now, this is all part of destroying the dirt sheets and trying to salvage any form of kayfabe you can in the wrestling industry.
Okay. I don't think that that's a unfair statement. Or I don't think that you're being unfair there. Okay? I really don't. I think that there's evidence to support what you're saying, and I think that there is also examples we could look at where WWE specifically put out some sort of thing for creative for the
Hmm.
dirt sheets to pick up, and it all backfired. That said though, the you okay, they risk so much pulling this move, right? As a work and upsetting so many, right? While also touching on a very sensitive topic, Mex. This is something I didn't think about until like this morning, but there are people that really do get fired. So you think that they would use that as a storyline, knowing the sensitive nature and the way that the people react when superstars are cut? You want to double down on that?
Absolutely.
Whoa,
Look
come
at
on, bro.
look at
When have
the
they
look
ever
at
done
the
anything to that
coverage.
degree since Stone Cold pulled a gun on, or since Pillman pulled a gun on Stone Cold? When have they ever gone that far?
100%. That's what I'm saying. Look at the coverage this company is getting right now. Look at the traction it
It's
got.
crazy. It's
I
crazy.
mean, it's everything
Four
you talked about.
platforms trending. TKO. Four
Hmm.
platforms. Not WWE. I mean, WWE was trending too. So was Money in the Bank. So was Worlds Collide. They did great business last night. But TKO was trending, homie. That's a different ball game right there.
That's what I'm saying. We both agreed that they've been lackluster coming into and out of Mania.
Yes.
Uh, they needed a shot in the arm, and because think about it, this entire from the start of this entire randomness of Cena and our truth, and that came out of nowhere, and then for it to just abruptly end like that, like I'm sorry, but I've watched wrestling for so long, Mario. Um, and I feel like you have too. And honestly, sometimes I wish I could be more like you, but I
Yo,
just see
no, no,
this
no,
stuff
stop. That
coming.
was a shot, bro. Yo, if y'all are listening, that was a shot Max just took, bro. That was
In
basically
a
him
way,
saying,
but not really, because
sometimes I wish I could
you
have your
you
childlike imagination and your 10-year-old Mark ass brain to believe the
I
storylines.
mean, it's not really a shot, but I get it. But it's like, man, because I've been watching this for so long, I just, and you got to admit, I've over the years, I can see some of these things coming a mile away. Like, I, it's almost too predictable for me at times.
Your booking's been spot on. Although, Mex, may I remind you, you thought Cody was going over on Roman at WrestleMania 40, the first match. And now I'm not saying that that's I'm not saying, oh, you're dumb. I mean, I thought the same thing. We all did, right? So all
Yeah,
I'm
no,
saying,
I thought
the
that
only
was
point I'm trying to make is that there are times where you buy in.
oh, 100%, 100%, bro. But I'm bad if we're talking baseball, bro. I'm batting at like
Yeah,
448.
you're like, oh shit, I thought you were at like a fucking 890 or some shit right now.
I'll be reasonable. We'll be reasonable. But no, look, Mario. I
You're
think
just a Hall of Famer. Don't worry about it.
I genuinely believe that this is what we're doing, and it's like I said. I think Triple H in particular despises the sheets.
For
He's
sure.
someone that, and that's what you do, man. You take the trust away from them, and then that's how you limit their power. You know. I'm standing on that. I'm sticking with that. Uh, and I believe, I get like I said, this R Truth thing or Ron the Truth Killings thing, which I said that too. Then they dropped the shirt.
You said that they
I
would do
They may be
what you
watching.
said was they would drop his name and go with the Ron Killings.
I think that you know what they may be doing, Marno. They may be just watching Infighting Hub and just stealing my booking at this point.
Oh, bro. Yeah, they definitely did that last year. I mean, I thought that was just like an open secret between us. Like
Yeah,
like the
because
way Jay-Z and Diddy got an open secret between them. No, I'm playing, I'm playing. I thought it
you
was like
know,
a situation where, because listen, all I know is Mex basically booked WrestleMania 41 to a T, and like including the Cody stuff, which I'll be honest, if he wasn't the first one, no, he was the first person. I mean, look, I'm sure there was other content creators out there that may have said it, in Japan or waking up before us in Australia, but Mex was one of the only people I knew at the time that was doubling down on the Rock stuff and him and Roman not being the main event. And yeah, it came true, man. I just listen, Mex. I'll be honest. I want to know, like, so you think that our truth is coming out on Monday or Friday, and they're going to capitalize on this, and our truth is going to get like a push, or was this
dude.
just to come
So
and do this thing and make it pop, and then you're gone again, or what do
so
you
that's
think?
what I'm thinking. So this is where we're gonna find out, right? This is what we're really that's gonna be the main question now, right? Because as a character, you can't push our truth as a world champion level contender, right? I think we can agree there. But you can push Ron the Truth Killings as remember, and then they brought up on the YouTube post show, he's a former TNA world champion, former NWA world heavyweight champion. So that character, I believe, Ron the Truth Killings, I believe you can take as a serious. And if you look at his facials, we haven't seen our truth or Ron Killings, whatever we're gonna call him today. You haven't seen those facials like he had
In a
last
long
night
time. In a
since
long time.
2010.
You're absolutely right, dude. I'm so glad you said that too, because that needed to be said. That was not our truth, bro. If that was our truth, he would have done what he'd done and then looked at the camera and gave it a fucking "you can't see me," or maybe even leaned over and talked to the lovable ghost Jimmy. But he didn't do none of that shit. That was
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm gonna punch you in your fucking teeth, Ron Killings. You know what I'm saying? NWA TNA Ron Killings. Yeah, listen, I'm all for it. I want to see where they go with it. I want to see what they do with it. I hope this wasn't just like a once overreactionary and they have zero plans to go back to it
Yeah,
or do
that would,
anything.
goddamn, that would be disappointing if it was just this like quick moment, and a month from now we're moved on and he's back to doing the goofy shit. You know what I mean?
Did you hear what Ape said about this, about TKO and them, basically trying to like make a quick buck off the R-Truth stuff, and then the TKO stuff with the announcement with Canelo and Crawford, and how essentially this whole weekend felt like a very orchestrated
Oh, 100%. They're a
push.
media machine.
Yes,
Everything,
media machine. That's the
all
word.
eyes
That's the
from the for
phrase.
the last 3 hours have been on TKO, whether it's UFC, whether it's MMA, or even boxing and wrestling. Like, it's all centered around this. I mean, they are a well-oiled machine. Um, the disappointing thing is, I think this fight's gonna get announced in Saudi. I
What?
Yeah, I
Why do you
just feel
think
like
that?
they're gonna.
God, you're put so much bad juju on this shit every time, Mex, with your
Hey man, it's
pessimism.
just it's a have to be, bro. Come on, Mark. We've been doing this boxing and wrestling thing for how long? We got to prepare to be fucked over coming regardless. Um,
Dude, that would be awful.
and don't get me wrong, bro. I would love. I mean, my God, bro, Dallas. That take it to Dallas, bro. You know.
That would be dope.
Um, I don't know. I feel like the whole, oh, it's not Dana, it is Dana. I feel like that was some bullshit. I feel like they knew it was Dana from the rip. Um, it's hard. It's just hard, man. It's hard to put your finger on what exactly they're doing at TKO.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I do want to comment on this too. I feel like if this was the old Top Rank and they weren't aligned with TKO, um, I think Keyshawn Davis would be in a lot of trouble. But remember, he's a ring ambassador, and I think it's gonna be no skin off his brow. I think Turkey likes him enough, and that's all that's gonna really matter at the end of the day. Even if which I believe he should be suspended, 100%. I don't know how you feel on that. I think that was ridiculous. I understand you're upset about a loss, but nobody likes a sore loser like that. But I think even if they suspended him, we'd see Keyshawn over in Saudi this
Yeah,
year.
I agree. Okay, let me ask you this though. Are you, because I know you're a dude who's tapped in, social media wise, so you see, what the boxing verse and wrestling verse is thinking a lot of times. Do you think that boxing fans will move on from this, or was this too egregious of stunts in a weekend to get over? I mean, it wasn't just one thing, right? We're not just talking about some scuffle in the back. We're talking about a series of events where the Davis family took L after L after L after L, and now they're all down bad. What do you think? Can boxing fans forgive and forget on this one?
Absolutely. Look at the way they forgave Ryan Garcia. Devin
Oof.
Haney is the ultimate villain because he got cheated and tried to do something about it.
Oh shit. Damn,
You
that's
know,
crazy. I didn't even think of it like that.
and it's all similar situation, right? The fight didn't happen, and I called it on the day of the weigh, and I said, they're not trying to end up like Devin Haney. So good call to pull out of the fight.
Yeah, I agree. I
And
think that was the biggest problem, is so many people remembered that happening as it got to this point, and people were assuming, and I think that Abe's right about that. I think Keyshawn assumed, yo, y'all ain't gonna pull me from this. Y'all seen the ticket sales. Y'all know that y'all, this is my event. Y'all are gonna do whatever I want. And
And that's
honestly,
why I'm glad.
bravo. Yes, go ahead, say that. Because I saw you post that and I was like, yo, bro, he's right.
Yeah, Team De Los Santos and Samson, they put their foot down. They said, nope, we're not taking this fight. Because in, like, we're gonna keep that precedent going. We got to stop that in its track. How many of these done that? Oh, let me blow weight, and I'll pay him a couple $100,000, and we'll fight again anyways. And now I have a decided weight advantage. You know, um, I'm glad they paid De Los Santos. I'm glad they didn't pay Davis, and I hope that this is the start of the end of that nonsense. Because, I mean, dude, Doomy said it best on his show. You knew you weren't gonna make weight at least by Monday.
For sure.
You did not
For
give De
sure
Los
by
Santos the
Monday.
opportunity to make weight by Friday, to have those extra 4 pounds. So you were looking for an advantage, and I'm glad it backfired. I'm glad it blew up in his face. But no, man, there's gonna be people that justify this for Keyshawn Davis. Boxing is a very toxic world, as you know. So I
Okay,
think
can I ask you this? Some people are saying this, and I just want to ask you a question. I want to ask it in a way that I don't lead you. Um, okay, there's no way. Davis brothers, were they the most overhyped brothers in recent memory in boxing? Because this has been like a trend, right? You got the little twins out in Vegas, and you got the Mason brothers, and you got like, a bunch of these brothers that kind of like
they are
they
the second most overhyped.
ooh, who's the first?
The Vargas dynasty.
Oh shit, bro. You're trying to get hate, huh? You came on here trying to
I've
get hate.
I've
I
met all
get
of
it
them.
now.
I've
I
met
get
all
it
of them.
now.
I've met Fernando. I met
I
Emiliano. I
I
met
met him
Amado.
too. I interviewed him, bro. You seen all
Listen,
their fights this year?
Emiliano is
Telling
the
me
best.
Emiliano don't look fucking good as shit,
He's
bro.
the no. He looks good. He looks the best of the three.
He looks like he
But
could be better than his dad, bro.
I don't believe. No.
I'm not saying he will. I'm saying he's got
I
the kind of skill that looks like
I
he can develop past what his dad was able to
I think
achieve.
he can be up there, but
He's a better athlete than his dad too.
better athlete for sure. But listen, they're not gonna have the first of all, and I do like Emiliano. I think, like I said, he's the best of three.
I think he's
He's
great.
gonna be a world champion.
He's gonna
But
be a millionaire. He's gonna sell
I
tickets,
think
everything.
I think he looks a lot better based on the comparison of his brothers. You know, it elevates him a little bit. He's good. Don't get me wrong. He's got it. I don't think he'll be as good as his dad, and I don't think any of the three have the dog that their dad had in them. Um, which that's nothing against them, bro. That's just a different way they came up. You know what I mean? Different lifestyles. But Amado and Fernando Jr., bro. I mean, my God, Mario. At this point, Fernando Jr. is nearly 30, bro. Like, are you gonna fight somebody or not? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true. That's a fair point. I think they definitely are hiding him a little bit. I just look, all I know is last night I was covering Money in the Bank for fightsatw.com. That's fightsaroundtheworld.com, where you can go and check out all combat sports media
Make sure
where I
you
write
visit.
and cover Raw, SmackDown, PLEs for WWE and AEW. I saw that I was covering it, trying to watch what was on the UFC had just started, and I'm barely watching it, and I'm seeing Keon get worked in ways that you wouldn't expect someone at that level to get worked like that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm looking, and then I'm hearing the commentary team, bro. They all turned on Keyshawn or on the whole Davis family, and rightfully so. Listen, you know what? Maybe it's just a not a bad thing, obviously, but maybe it makes me maybe I shouldn't be the one to comment on this stuff with the kid, with the baby. Because first of all, I don't have a kid, right? But second of all I know are great fathers. I know that sounds crazy, but all I know, the only friends I have are great. I'm not friends with anybody who's like a deadbeat dad or don't see their kid or
No, and
gay
neither
their
am
mother.
I.
I'm not. And so like UMEX, one of the best fathers I know. I mean, bro, going out there, fucking 8, 9 a.m. for baseball, football, don't matter. You're gonna be out there with the kids, pushing them, pushing your boy and your girl in the same way with sports. Like, it's beautiful. Abe right now is playing daddy duty. I can't imagine being so angry that the fade that the need to throw a fade is a bigger feeling than my need to protect my child.
Yeah, no,
I can't imagine that.
that was where Keyshawn lost me personally. Um, because I 100% agree, Mario. Like, man, I've been in situations where I might see somebody I don't like, things maybe get heated, but if my kids are there, um, the only time I'm getting physical with you is if I feel there's a threat, something immediate, and then at that point, you're in a lot of trouble, man, because I'm in defense mode of my children. But to just stop what you're doing, and if I'm not mistaken, he handed off the child. I don't know if I got that
Yes.
right or not, but I feel like he handed off the baby and went into the fight. I'm like, man, what are you doing?
Yes.
Where's your mind at?
That's exactly
First
what
of all,
happened. Like, yeah,
your child is in if that fight goes down and it breaks out as big as it could be with both teams involved, your child is right in the middle of
right in the
of the
middle of danger.
of the whole scuffle. You know what I mean? That's he's young, but that's just a when you become a dad, I don't care what nobody tells you, age is not an excuse. I was a dad
No.
at 17. Um, and I've been in my situations, but I've never put my kids in a situation where they were going to be directly in trouble, and that's unacceptable, man. As a dad, forget him as a boxer, forget him as a personality. One father to another, that's unacceptable.
Yeah, bro. I feel you in that for real. The Davis family, it's going to be a crazy situation for the rest of the year. Like a lot of answers, right? And it just happened at such a crazy time, right? Where Top Rank is moving on from ESPN. Like this was the time to really like make sure you're
To sell
part of that
yourself.
push.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And like don't get me wrong, I think that, people were a little unfair on him because the system is designed in a way for this kind of thing to happen all the time. Yes, he needs to be professional and the responsibilities on him for sure. But, and I got no problems with people making jokes. Yo, the meme of him eating Cheetos, that was
Oh my
hilarious,
God, yeah, the
bro.
Bomac.
Yes, but bro, my man was over there like scarfing popcorn, and he was doing it with this passive aggressive attitude. You could see, like, bro,
He was trolling.
he was trolling. Exactly. Thank you. Thank you. I knew I wasn't looking too much into. He was trolling, right?
Yeah, I mean, his like I said, there's gonna be a solid fan base, like every fighter, right? But this was a fuck you to people who don't like it. I'm Keyshawn Davis. I'm the next big thing. Tank and Shakur are scared of me. I'm gonna do what I want. The
Mm.
problem here is Keyshawn, in his own mind, is a bigger established star than he actually is.
Oof. Oof. Yeah, you
Keyshawn is on the come up, Mario. But let's be real. He's not on the level of a Shakur, a Tank. He's like a notch above a Surreal Matias, those kind of guys.
oof.
He's on the way up.
Andy
Not to
Cruz
say he's
flattens
not
him
gonna
right
get
now.
there.
Does
Do
Andy
what?
Cruz flatten him? Does Andy Cruz flatten him right now?
Yeah, I don't think he wants no smoke with Andy Cruz.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I think that's pretty clear.
Does he beat a Frank Martin? Does he beat a Frank Martin?
Oh
Frank
yeah,
Martin?
Keyshawn beats a. That's what I'm saying. Keyshawn is like he's at that point where he needs a couple of tough fights to be ready for an Andy Cruz. Because I mean, if you threw him in there with like I think Frank Martin would work him, but I think he'd get through it. I think he could beat a Pitbull Cruz. I think he could beat what'd be a good another one? A good another good
I
fight
like
at
that
that around.
Grill fight you said.
Yeah,
That's
some real
nice.
Matias. I think that's a good fight. There's fights there, but he's got to have those fights to get to that level. He's just not there yet. That's not to
No,
say
hell
that
no.
Keyshawn passes the eye test, but as we've learned over the years, that eye test only means so much.
For sure, bro. For sure, it only means so much. Yo, what did you think about Mason's performance last night? By the way, shitty
Um,
end of the fight, man. Poor Norfolk, bro.
yeah,
They
but
can catch
it
a
was a
break.
solid performance. He did what he needed to do.
Definitely.
I think we got to start stepping up Abdullah. I like Abdullah. But he's at that point where he needs to start stepping it up. Just this guy was a good name to have on your record, but I mean, this guy was past it. He probably should have been retired. You know, yeah, the ending was kind of anticlimactic, but I mean, it was inevitable what was fixing to happen. So I kind of agree with the stoppage. There's no need to get somebody hurt that's really got no self defense in the fight.
Oh yeah. Hey, did you see the Wardley fight?
All I saw was the knockout.
So did I. I heard
I
Huni
just
was
saw it.
up.
Yeah, I heard something like that. You know, my brother Matt said it best, man. At this point, Eddie Hearn's gonna have to fight Frank Smith because
Yeah. Yeah, bro.
Queensberry's just whipping his ass.
Yo, I stole that joke from him and put it on Twitter.
Like it got me. My God, bro. Talk about that's like as if Texas Tech was able to beat Texas at anything, bro. It just would be
Yeah.
at this point annoying.
Yo, that is so right, bro. And the way that the camera caught Eddie's face, and Matt said it best, bro. It was like another one. His face is just like,
He goes
when
to
am I
bed at
gonna
night
catch a break?
confused, is like, how the fuck does this guy keep doing this?
Exactly, bro. Now, I want to ask you this. Based off of what we're hearing on Canelo and Crawford and the fact that Dana is going to get the keys to the fight, Oscar made a mention of the PBC 5-on-5 last week during the Fulgram Beck the Bully fight. How excited are you for a PBC Golden Boy 5-on-5? And do you think that they can compete with that kind of show with anything that
So
Saudis can come up with?
that's what I'm like, okay, who is the five? You know, for each side.
Exactly.
Can you really name me 5 Golden Boy fighters?
Not 5 that I want to see, like that I'm dying to see what
That you're like,
PBC does.
man, I want him to, 5v. And Mario, just for your audience's sake, you know better than anybody, I'm the biggest De La Hoya fan.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, there's nobody on that roster that I give a shit about. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, outside of Ryan, what's the most known name? Like a Floyd Schofield, and what is he known for? You know what I mean? Like,
Verge, you could probably say,
yeah, you got
but
Verge, but okay, then who's at 54 on the PB side for Virgil?
exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not.
I think Max got a call again. Yeah. So listen, I think that the PBC card with Golden Boy has got to be top. It's got to be top because at the end of the day, bro, they're gonna come hard. They're coming hard, and I knew something was going on. I said last week, right, and I clipped it, and people talk shit that I was like reaching and I was like looking at it too hard. But De La Hoya made that announcement last Friday, bro, and he was absolutely psyched about it, adamant about it, right? And it just felt like he was announcing it the way he was announcing it for a reason, right? First of all, the deal's not even done. They don't even have one fight agreed to. So why would you announce something like that in the sport of boxing with a history of shit just falling apart whenever it happens? Because you wanted to make sure you got that news out. You wanted to make sure that when, the news story that took place when Turkey came out and said, I'm giving the keys to the kingdom to Dana. You there, Max?
Hold on, Mario. I'm losing you. Right? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. You there, champ? Yeah, but it's just like one of those situations where they got to come hard, bro. They got to come hard with it because they gotta yeah, it's all good, Max. If you want to, leave and then come back on, that usually will fix it. Assuming it's not like, road issues. But in order to counter, because it's not counter programming, right? They're not going to go up against Canelo and Bud on September 13th, but it is counter programming in the sense of like, okay, they're doing their thing. Now it's time for us to do our thing. And that's the way it felt with Oscar. It was like he thought, oh, we're just going to stay under this, Saudi umbrella as long as it's raining out here. And ultimately what happens with that is that you put yourself in a must-win position. And this PBC card, for them to put it off, it's got to be a banger, bro. It has to be. I mean, first of all, the Canelo Crawford fight, I mean, the Canelo-Bud fight is getting more popular by the day. For everyone that was against it, and they're probably still against it in a lot of ways, there are so many more casual fans absolutely excited. When you see, Gilly the Kid and the Breakfast Club and all these ESPN's morning shows, is First Take still a thing? I don't even know. You see them all talk about it. That's big time. That's big time. So for Oscar to want to come out swinging, right? I wouldn't be surprised if they try to at least finalize one of the fights very quickly so that they can, counter announce something. Maybe not this week, but in the upcoming weeks, because bro, you're gonna have to come back in a big way with this shit. Like, real talk, you're gonna have to come back in a big way. I mean, the way that Dana, you know what? I think I put it on my thing. Hold up. The way that Dana spoke about everything was just, it was very, very telling, I think is the way to say it. Let me see. Where can I go to find it for y'all? I think it's on Apes. Let me just go. Like, he was almost laughing last night, Dana was, at the question of, look, you'll see. Like, oh, y'all didn't think I was promoting this shit? Y'all are crazy, bro. Like, that's kind of what it felt like. Oops. Here it is. Oh, that's the wrong one. All right, here it is. I was wondering, dude. So, yeah, bro. That's, it almost like he was laughing about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, y'all really thought I wasn't? Yo, that's funny. Y'all thought I wasn't gonna cover it. That's crazy. But truth be told though, yeah, he definitely made it sound like it wasn't gonna be Dana or TKO. I mean, true, there was never a statement that was definitive, but yeah, it makes me wonder. And I asked Abe earlier, if you didn't get to hear the beginning of the show, go back. Abe Gonzalez, fightsatw.com, broke down a lot of really interesting points. And one of them was about TKO's efforts, right, to control the media this weekend, or not control, but like to make it, to really steal the media output this weekend. And they did a great job trending on 4 or 5 major social media platforms. Again, not Canelo Crawford, not WWE, not Dana White or UFC, but TKO. That plus Worlds Collide and Money in the Bank and UFC 316, all trending this weekend. That's major. That's super, super major. But again, it comes down to this. What happened from the moment you knew the fight was taking place, right? Which is essentially after the Canelo Skull fight, immediately after. to the point where you were hesitant to confirm any sort of head promoter for this thing. And then on top of that, we have to wonder, and this is again point that Abe made, does Canelo and Bud, will they fall under the TKO umbrella for this fight? Are they going to be like signed to like a one fight deal? Or I mean, how does that work? Will it be Queensberry or Matchroom that heads it up in that kind of way? Like they're promoted fighters under that bandwagon that are being promoted by TKO and Dana White? I don't know. There's still a lot of questions, I think, to be answered. And while I do think we'll get answers as far as, you know, where the fight's going to be, when it's going to be, maybe pay-per-view price, probably not right away. But what we won't get are the answers to, you know, the little weird stuff that I certainly want to know. And I know a lot of you are curious about, you know, why did it take the turn that it did? And then and then here's the other part of it, right? This one of the reporters asked a question about this, which if you're Dana or UFC or anybody in the media team for any of these companies, I mean, you know, somebody's going to ask you this question, right? They ask it every time. So you're ready, obviously, and you have your response. Dana clearly knew that Turkey was going to announce this week details. I don't know. Listen, there are times where a promoter or a manager or a media person will come up to a reporter before the scrum or during the post fight, before the promoters and fighters get to the podium, or even during the fights, and they'll mention something to you. Hey, you know, blah 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 blah. You know, ask Oscar about it when you're up there. You know, hey, so the word is we're gonna do the fight between so and so and so and so. Yeah, go ahead and you can ask Bob about it, you know, during the scrum. You know, they'll do things like that. And I'm not saying that anybody would have had to make one of the reporters ask, but if you are so inclined to make sure that everybody knows that you are the lead promoter before the announcement's made, you know what I mean? Because like Dana put it out there in a very casual kind of way, right? Laughing about it. And then Turkey responds almost immediately and is like, yeah, you know, we're rolling with Dana. We're going to do all that. But Dana was right. He said the funny thing about boxing is they make these deals and then they try to keep them as quiet as possible. He's like, when I make a deal, I go on live and I'm like, the UFC, blah, 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 blah. And I'm talking to 90,000 people and blah, blah. And he's right. He's absolutely right. You know, when they do something, it's a newsworthy event. You know what I'm saying? Like the deals with Prime and their fighters, even fighters that fought for the UFC that end up going somewhere else or doing something or working in direct contrast to the UFC, you know, model or guidelines, that ends up being a huge story. You know, so these guys know how to dictate the media. They really do. And Abe said that he can see Dana running into boxing problems or boxing logistical issues when it comes to this promotion. But he agreed with my premise that this fight's like kind of too, like everything's too set or too ready to fuck up. You know, it's like if you're supposed to be cooking Thanksgiving dinner and preparing it for everybody, and on the table are like place cards where everything goes. It's like you don't have to remember anything, you know, it's already set up for you to kind of plug and play. I'm not going to say that promoting is that easy. It's not that easy. There's a lot of work to it. And that's why I think that there is at least small percentage of a chance that Dana ends up blowing this thing or fucking it up. And what does that look like, by the way? Because again, we talk all the time how Turkey doesn't seem to need to make a profit at this point. And we also see him spending money to get the fights that he wants. Abe made a very interesting point, and this is for all my, you know, boxing, wrestling, MMA hybrid fans out there. He said Turkey's booking like Triple H almost, where if it's not his conception, his idea, you know, and he used the Sam Goodman and Nick Ball fight as a example, then he's like not for it. It's not his bag. If he's not the one who's booking and solidifying these major news announcements and he I think that he likes the praise. I really do. I think he likes it, you know, and who wouldn't? Like imagine people every day go online. I mean, not today, but you know, early on in his tenure, imagine people getting on and you posting and people writing things like, thank you so much for saving boxing, Turkey. You know, thank you, your excellency, for everything you're doing for the sport I love. I mean, these very sincere messages from like grown ass men and women and kids and everything in between. To be considered a savior, yo, that's hard to not develop a savior complex. You know what I'm saying? And so you kind of got to look at it where Abe is he's on to something. I think he's on to something. You know, Turkey's got that, you know, a little bit of Triple H in him, bro. He want to be making the bookings, and he it's not about credit. I think it's about like he wants to showcase his ability to book, his ability to promote, his ability to matchmake. And that's cool, you know. But at the same time, like everybody plays like if I had the money, right? Like I remember when Pacquiao and Mayweather was at its height of popularity to have that fight, and they still weren't fighting. And there were like people that would call into the boxing voice. So it would be like, yeah, man, if I had like $1 billion, man, I'd just give, you know, Pac and Mayweather X amount just to fight, just to have the fight on, blah, blah. And like, imagine if you did have that. Like if there was a dude who was such a big fan of boxing and was actually in a position to achieve those goals financially because he has a bottomless pit of money. I don't know. This is kind of what I think the booking would be like. This is kind of what I feel like a fan taking over the sport would feel like. Not to say that the business moves aren't terrific or anything like that, but you know, ultimately it is what it is. Yo, shout out to Coach Rivera, shout out to the Boxing Biz, Doomy, Stick Talk Boxing Champ. Yo, Adrian in the building, Kaz Cardenas, Charles in the building. Shout out Eric. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the follow button wherever you're watching, X, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And yeah, wherever you're watching, if it's not on YouTube, you could do me a huge favor and go to YouTube and search Infighting Exchange, and it's spelled Infighting FX. INFIGHTING FX on all platforms, including TikTok. I can't go live on TikTok yet because I don't have the follows. So if you got a TikTok, hop on over and just give me that follow, champ. I'm posting after fights. I'm posting every day. I got a couple of little funny videos coming out. So yeah, kick it with us from Monday through Thursday, 2 p.m. Central Time. Yeah, wrestling, boxing, MMA, Infighting FX, your one-stop shop for everything combat sports. I do want to show one more thing as it concerns the Keyshawn, and we're gonna finish on wrestling, but I want to show this. So, Tio has had a reputation for some wild, wild stuff he has said as of late, right? And with this whole Keyshawn Davis situation popped off the way it did, I honestly would have expected him to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. Him and Keyshawn have kind of been slow booking a feud, and it's interesting. Definitely, they're two guys that are interesting in terms of wanting to see a fight between the two. But I was very surprised at what Tio had to say in regards to Keyshawn Davis. This is Tio earlier this morning or this afternoon. So let's run this back now. Because here's the thing, right? That did not feel or is it insincere? Is that how you say it, right? That didn't feel insincere. It didn't feel like he was trolling to a degree. But because it's Tio, like, bro, everything he says, you have to hear that bit of sarcasm or the little bit of trolling, and here's the other part, right? And this is what he doesn't understand. Everybody talks about how much Tio understands about promoting and social media and trolling and stuff, and that's true. He does. He understands at a fairly high level. The thing he don't understand is that you have to develop an ability to separate the two, because the problem is he is really good at trolling, and the people that are so good at trolling are the ones that sound so sincere, right? Like if I brought Mex on and be like, yeah, Mex, honestly, this was the best booking you ever did. I mean, you knew our truth didn't really get fired. You were one of the only people that was knowledgeable to understand. Like, obviously, I'm being sarcastic, you know what I'm saying? And I'm trolling, and it's like, I'm not as good as Tio, right? So, like, I hear him say all of this, and it's like, damn, man, Tio, he really is a good guy. He just really trolls, you know what I mean? And here's the other thing. It's like, you could be a good guy and make mistakes, right? You can make mistakes and try to like promote in ways that you think are funny or will be beneficial, and then they backfire, and it's like, oh shit, and you learn from that, right? But these words felt sincere, and they honestly were really good. They were that was information that came from a place of knowledge, right? There's a lot of people online that are offering words of encouragement to Keyshawn Davis and the Davis family. There are a lot of people online trying to give them, advice in 80 characters on how to proceed forward and get past this really, really dark moment in their entire family's career, which is crazy if you think about that. So all of that to say, like, the media is difficult to navigate, and Tio is like absolutely right in all this, and he's being fair really to Keyshawn in a lot of ways that a lot of people aren't. And don't get me wrong, last night was gross, bro. Honestly, disgusting. And Keyshawn is gonna have to show something very different in the ring for me to like or for a lot of people that I know that are currently not on his side to like root for him ever again. And I'm sure, that's fine. I'm sure he's not scared of hard work. And it's going to take hard work to bring yourself back to where people saw you originally, right? Or before Friday weigh-in. But then at the very end, right, Tio's like, and to Nair Albright, Niger, what he calls him, I just want to say whatever you choose to do is the right call. And that's like, wait. So you're like, yo, Keyshawn, stay up, bro. You're gonna just ride the wave, and I promise you'll be back. You got a loving family and blah blah. It's like, okay. And at the very end, he's like, yo, all right, you gotta press charges though, dog. Like, come on, bro. I can't call it. Is it a troll? Is it sincere? Bro, Tio is so hard to read. And that's like what makes him interesting for sure. But how do you translate that into making people want to see a fight? I think has always been the issue, right? I will watch a Keyshawn Davis and a Tio fight right now. I mean, I couldn't see why on earth they would ever make that fight right now. But honestly, it seems like a more makeable fight than Mason and Keyshawn. And this is on Thursday before we knew that Keyshawn outgrew the weight class. By the way, how poorly did that age? Him trying to pick on Mason, right? Who's firmly planted in that division. Meanwhile, Doomy was absolutely right. Okay, best case scenario, Keyshawn knew on Monday he wasn't making weight. Best case scenario. More likely, he subconsciously knew all camp and then realized somewhere in his conscious, like 2 weeks back, maybe 10 days before the weigh-in, like, Ooh, yeah, this ain't coming off, is it? And it just, you know what? And that's the other part. It just doesn't come off sometimes. You know, I've had to cut weight for fights, and you'll be surprised if you've never tried to cut weight, how much water weight you can cut in a day. I mean, it's crazy. Um, and I'm not even saying as a fighter, right? Because we've all heard crazy stories of 10, 20 pounds dropping, right? But a normal human being can still drop like 4 or 5 pounds with work, just like concentration and focus on literally getting that water weight out of you. But when you do it for so long, like, you know your body, you know that when you put X amount of miles in, and then X amount of time in the sauna, and then X amount of time, wringing out your clothes, you know that, okay, I should have lost about like 1.5 pounds here, or like, or okay, this session will strip me of 3/4 of a pound for sure. And when you don't see that needle moving, when you don't see that number decreasing by the amount that you're used to, bro. You know what I'm saying? He knows. He knows. He knows. And he knew that the whole time. And I think that's why, because, Abe said it earlier, and I meant to clarify because, that was a little inside baseball talk. Because, or maybe he did say it, but Samson had come out and specifically said, and this is what Abe had reiterated, that basically they didn't, I mean, yes, part of the reason the fight didn't happen is because Davis did not want to adhere to all of De Los Santos's demands. I think that Abe was right. Keyshawn went in there with a sense of arrogance, thinking there's no way they'd pull him from this fight, right? But the problem was that he was never trying to make the weight. And this is according to Samson. Again, I'm sorry, I should have clarified that. Samson's words after coming out of the negotiations, right? The first interview he gives, he basically says they were on the road to making the fight. They were on the road to securing the deal, to renegotiate, to have the fight. And something held up the negotiations. And then it became clear to them that Keyshawn never intended to make the weight, nor did he really try. Now, I can't know that. I don't think they can know that either. But when you're in boxing for a long time, you definitely can get a sense of what a fighter's tried and not tried, right? And I think the way they thought, it was like, nah, this is a setup, bro. This is Mayweather Marquez. This is, all right, yeah, we'll fight at 135 or whatever, knowing the whole time I'm coming over, knowing the whole time this fight's worth too much to stop, right? Ryan knew that. He gave credit to Floyd, who told him to come in overweight. I don't know how much of that was cap, how much it wasn't, but I can tell you that Ryan is a big star. That fight was worth a lot of money. It was going to be very hard for anybody in Devin Haney's position to turn that down, right? And I get that. Had he turned it down, I think it's a bigger win, right? He doesn't lose. The whole steroids issue isn't a thing. But for Keyshawn, I think he really thought that his fight was too big to stop. I don't know where his mind was at, but I can tell you that it definitely backfired for sure. Definitely backfired on him. And it, like Abe said, started a domino effect that just got worse and worse and worse. And here we are now at this position where I don't know where he goes, bro. I don't know. Abe's already asking if he's going to get cut. Whoa. That would be crazy. Imagine a kid who was on his way to basically getting that golden top rank road paved to him in fights, right? They really know how to match their fighters to be stars. And they do a very good job of keeping their inabilities hidden, right? You look at Berlanga. You know, Berlanga, when he was with Top Rank, was being promoted as a monster. 16 knockouts, 16 fights. He's on the record. He's on the chase for Mike Tyson's record for most knockouts in a row to start your career. And dude, it was almost like it was like a poor man's version of the way they used to cover Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire home runs. You know what I mean? They had the ticker on every time, and that was what they were doing. Berlanga, but look what happened, right? You get exposed, you get exposed. I don't think Keyshawn has been exposed for his abilities, but this goes back to what Mex was harping on. He has been exposed as a professional. To say that Keyshawn isn't elite is a early, that's way too soon to say, right? But to have him below some of the other guys like Andy Cruz or Shakur is absolutely fair, first of all, just based on Shakur, you know, and his resume and experience. But from the Andy Cruz side, at least these guys are professionals. How am I? Listen, Keyshawn's young, but he's not that young, right? You can make mistakes as a young kid growing up in the game. But when you're supposed to already be that star, bro, you can't pull shit like this, bro. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? How did you think any of the moves you made this weekend would be beneficial to you in the position that you were in? He wanted so badly to pretend that coming in 4+ pounds overweight would not be a detriment to his career. He was wrong about that. And he felt that he was wrong about that. Now, I was not in the building last night. I did have some colleagues that were. From what I hear, there were a few hecklers last night from his hometown yelling things at him. Very, very displeased with the hometown boy. And I think Keyshawn might have felt that last night. I think Keyshawn might have felt, a pride, an ego, maybe even a need to get the get back. That's a big thing in fighters, right? When I first started boxing or like training, the first time I sparred, I got knocked out by a 16-year-old kid with a body shot. And the reason I got knocked down is because he hit me with a stiff jab, the stiffest punch of that round, my first ever round sparring. And I immediately felt the need to fucking hit this kid in the face. Like there's never been a time where I wanted to beat a child so badly. And I wanted to beat this kid as hard as I could in front of both of his mother and his father. And I left myself wide open and took that body shot, hit my knees, went to the bathroom for 30 minutes, realized I had basically shit myself. Not like, oh, we got to go home and I'm wearing like wet toilet paper as underwear. Not like that, but it definitely was a huge wake-up call in terms of sparring and being prepared to fight. You learn those things, bro. You learn those things and I don't know. I just can't imagine you being in a position where you lose your belt on the scales. The other guy gets paid and you don't. He's guaranteed basically a title shot. You're not. And then your brother loses in front of your hometown as you're being heckled. You continuously try to eat popcorn and troll back, but we're seeing through it, champ. And then the animosity and the frustration it built over. They see, Albright there, feeling himself after that win, which he should, bro. He should. And Abe said it. If you were tapped in last week, I told y'all, bro. I said that. Well, it wasn't the co-main event at the time, but I had said that Albright fight was going to be tough for him. I had heard rumblings very early on that that was going to be a tough fight, that they had matched him tough on purpose. And they wanted to not necessarily like accelerate his career, but basically like see what they got, you know, a little sooner than they might have. And yeah, he definitely wasn't ready. It's good. It's good for him to lose at this point with that, because if he's going to turn into the kind of fighter that becomes, you know, that dominates a weight class, he's going to have to put in a shit ton of work. He's going to have to really hit that ground running. He's going to have to lose that chip on his shoulder. And honestly, that whole Davis team has to. Like, I've met the Davis brothers a handful of times, right? They roll together, they roll deep, and you know, they're all cool dudes, really. But yo, from the very beginning, before the Olympics, I mean, years ago, when we were seeing these kids at fights coming up to Ness, you know, dapping them up, trying to get on camera. And back then they knew they had it. Back then they were like, yo, we're an elite family. And it's good to have that chip on your shoulder as a fighter. That's good. You want that shit. But Brody, you can't let it take you to a point where you think you're better than you are, right? You got to keep it in your head so that when you're in that fight, there's never going to be a point where you doubt yourself, right? That's the kind of confidence you need. So when you see blood for the first time or for the 10th time, it don't matter. You got to keep that confidence. When you see your own blood, it's a fucked up thing. You know, you go to my IG right now, there is a picture of me after sparring with Jerry Belmontes, who helped me get ready for my boxing or for my Border Wars fight. He cut me, bro. He hit me with a shot with a hook, and he cut my temple, and that shit popped open. I must have had like a fucking zit or something there, a mosquito bite, because that shit went. Yeah, that picture's on IG, bro, and it was weird, you know. It wasn't the first time I'd been cut, but it was the first time I'd been cut in sparring and continued to, you know, fight in box and took more rounds. Almost any other time I got cut, I just, you know, we stopped and I got taken care of, right? Because I'm not out there trying to fight. But in this case, I was. So I tried to dig deep, and it is a little weird seeing your own blood. Like, oh shit, am I okay? Like, you know, am I gonna take off this mask and there's just gonna be like a huge fucking hole in my head? Yeah, so all that shit's like necessary, you know what I mean, to be nah, champ. I didn't see it. I didn't see that fight. But I did hear Wardley won, and I heard he got the knockout. I heard Justice or Justice, however you say it, did look good, bro. I heard he did look good. So I want to move on to UFC 316 last night. Sean O'Malley came up short. Merab dominated him. And now, first of all, before we get to what's next for Merab, Sean O'Malley, where do you go from here, right? I'm a fan of Sean O'Malley. First of all, his fighting style is very unique. It's the kind of fighting style that is always exciting with the UFC or with MMA. Even though Ben Henderson wasn't like as tall or lanky, he was dynamic with his striking, right? Guys like Bones Jones, you know, dynamic with their striking. And even though Sean O'Malley doesn't possess that kind of pop compared to those other guys, he does have pop. And more than anything, he's very capable of catching guys when they're not, like they say, the worst punch is the one you don't see coming. And that's true. Very true. He's good at landing those shots. And that's not something you can really teach. You know, that's instinct. And it's also a combination of how long he is. He's able to cut distances and land powerful shots in a way that people with shorter arms just aren't. Like, I remember in my first Border Wars fight, right? I was fighting a guy who's much longer than me. I had to get inside. I had to get so inside because I have really short arms. So I have to get here. Like, you have to be, if this is the fighter, I have to be right here, like literally this close to make my power, to make them feel it, right? Hit him with the left, Actually, I hit him with the right. He's lucky I didn't hit him with the left. That would have been lights out. But I hit him with the right. He went down. It's tough when you're fighting a guy who can hit you with inside power, with inside pop from a mid-range or even from outside. Pacquiao used to be able to do that very, very well. Not because he was long or even bigger than his opponents. That was very much not the case. But because he could cut the distance very quickly, right? With this move. He would be that, he would just take that distance, right? He would just, and then all of a sudden he's cut the angle. You have no idea. Lomachenko did stuff like that. Shakur can do stuff like that. I don't think that's like what he's looking for in fights, but he's capable of doing stuff like that. Tank, obviously a guy who's, he's capable of making you pay if you're not paying attention to what's coming. But ultimately, Sean O'Malley, as talented as he is, he's never beating Merab. I mean, not without some serious was it degradation or degeneration? I don't know what to say, but without him starting to really suck, there's no way that O'Malley beats him. So if you're not there at bantamweight or featherweight or flyweight, right? Because he ain't making any of those other weight classes, let's be honest. What do you do? Like, I think Sean O'Malley is tall enough that he could put some muscle on his frame and end up getting up to lightweight. How old is he, by the way? Oh, he's 30 years old. That's a little older. But he could still do it though. He really could. And that's the other part, is he is a dedicated enough fighter. Man, he changed his whole lifestyle for this fight. I mean, he knew. See, that's the other thing. Sean O'Malley, say what you want about his ability at the highest level. He does have the brain, the fighting IQ of someone at the highest level. He understands the sport at the highest level. Now, he may not be able to make his body do the things necessary to get a fight won against a guy like Merab. I don't know if that made sense, but he is a guy who can work himself into a better physique, a better skill set, a better position, or even just more prepared. Last night, he put in the kind of effort that will typically pay off for a fighter, except for when you run into somebody who is a class or two above you. And that's what happened last night. Sean O'Malley ran into a fighter who is, I don't know if he is an elite, like up there with like the pound for pound names yet. I definitely would hear an argument, but certainly Merab has to be considered world class. There's no question about that. Is Sean O'Malley world class? I wonder. He's shown some world-class performances, and he has a world-class brand, but he didn't really show anything last night that made me believe that he can outwork the talent above him. He changed everything about his lifestyle. He changed a lot of things about how he was going to go into the fight. And Merab had him in every which way. Early on, you saw the exploits of a guy like Sugar Sean, right? He was picking his shots. He was methodical. He was hitting from different ranges, mostly mid to outside. He did come inside a few times, and he was evasive in that first round, early in that first round. But after like the first 3 minutes, maybe 3.5 minutes of the fight, I might be wrong about that. That was it, bro. I mean, if Sugar Sean was winning that fight at any point, it was within the first 2 minutes. He was picking shots and, it was real methodical. Merab, a slow starter, I guess, if you want to say, but it wasn't even that, right? Like Merab's a guy who's downloading. He's smart like that, but the most dangerous thing is he's relentless. And that's a combination you don't see. You don't see Demetrius Andrade and Golovkin in one person. And that's Merab. Merab is a guy, the MMA version of those two. You know, he's a guy who is calculated. He is a guy who is a high level IQ, and he can transition. He can reverse. He can do a lot. He can make adjustments. He can do a lot of stuff. But what he does so well is keeping his foot on his opponent's throat the whole night. And if you can't stop that, you're going to lose, bro. You're going to lose. It's just the bottom line. But yeah, shout out to Merab. Let me see. He took the victory. Shout out to Harrison too last night. Defeated Pena. Landed a beautiful, beautiful Kimura, was it? No, it wasn't a Kimura. It was I think it was a Kimura. To win the fight. Merab too, by the way. Incredible transition. He had the choke on, which was he was on top of the neck, right? So O'Malley's face was down, and then O'Malley tried to reverse out of it, turn to his left, and then Merab had to turn to his right to sink it in. Basically upside down is basically what it was. I mean, just absolutely a high level win there. Let me see real quick. So that brings us to Merab and where he goes from here. So Corey Sandhagen was in the crowd last night, seated roughly in the same position, same area Donald Trump was seated, maybe a few rows behind. And the camera cut to him almost immediately after the win. And then after the post fight, or during the post fight, they asked him about who's next and what he thinks about Sandhagen, and camera showed them. I thought they should have gotten in the ring. Anytime you can get the fighters that are going to fight each other in the ring or in the cage before you're even going to make it official, you should do it. Even if that fight isn't going to happen next, you should just do it. You know, anything to build the fight, anything to build the promotion, because it isn't a mandatory, right? Because UFC doesn't have mandatories in the same way boxing does. But it is kind of a mandatory when you think about who else would he fight, right? Like, who else would Merab fight at this point other than Corey Sandhagen? You know, he got that TKO last time off of Figueiredo, and I think that win is good enough to solidify himself a championship fight. And I think Sandhagen can make it interesting. But at this point, I don't think anybody stops Merab. I don't think anybody beats him in the weight class right now. But yeah, listen, Sean O'Malley, where do you go from here, bro? Again, I mean, I'm looking at this featherweight weight class, and there's no easy fights. No, I mean, there's some winnable fights, I think, for him. But man, the weight advantage he gives up against some of these guys, right? Obviously, you have to come in weighing the same in terms of under the 145-pound featherweight limit, but some of these guys will have natural weight advantages upon rehydration and things like that. So listen, I do have the link to join in all of the chats, YouTube, Twitter, X, and Twitch. So NIG. So if you want to jump on, now is the time. We're getting ready to kick out for the night. But I want to touch on Worlds Collide real quick. Man, what a great show, dude. What a great show that was from top to bottom. Dominic Mysterio coming out, challenging Octagon Jr., who had that very emotional story about, Rey Mysterio. And Rey Mysterio Jr.'s fandom is a big part of his story, specifically that of his face. it was good. It was good to see him get that shine. It was good to see them, Mr. Iguana got over huge, huge, and which is like so great. When you saw him using the Iguana to fight Liv, I was like, bro, you could do that match. It's silly, but you could do it. That's a Mania comedy match for sure. Mr. Iguana and his Iguana versus Dominic Mysterio and Liv Morgan. Oh man, I feel sorry for whoever would have to book that. But on top of that, the four-way match, holy shit. Yo, Javon Evans is so good and he's so versatile. But if you didn't get a chance to go check out Worlds Collide, it is in English and Spanish on YouTube, on the WWE's YouTube channel. You could check it out, the full card. And then Chad Gable and Vikingo, 5-star match. 5-star match. One of the best pure matches of the week or the weekend. They absolutely killed it. Just 5 stars all around. And then I do want to make one other comment. I saw Velveteen Dream post on IG about Seth Rollins' win and how he nicknamed Seth the Thief Rollins or Seth Robbery Rollins. I don't remember, but basically he's accusing him of stealing gimmicks. I never really thought about it, but that is a kind of similar gimmick a little bit to Velveteen Dream in a way, but I wouldn't call that thievery at all. But yeah, he did have some problems with Seth, called out TKO for stealing gimmicks, but I don't know. Is it really stolen if you can't get any bookings? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't think Robert Downey Jr. stole the big Marvel bad guy from what's his name? The guy that played King the Conqueror. Right? And this is kind of the same situation. You didn't steal it, you just, weren't in real position to utilize it. But Seth Rollins is the champ. As the Money in the Bank holder, I'm sure will be the main focus of tomorrow's Raw, which I will be covering. I also don't think they're going to do the R-Truth thing tomorrow. I think they'll end up saving that for SmackDown, but I do expect him to come out. I'm curious to what we're going to see from all this. I think Triple H is going to end up regretting trying to insinuate that it was all a work. I really do. I think that he'll realize that it's not a problem to just listen to your fans, right? So many people are talking shit too, like, oh yeah, look, they just booking because what the fans want. Yeah, that's probably how you should do it, I think, right? Like, should we not make it work like that, where we're all happy with the bookings because they're doing the things that we want, or not doing the things we don't want? Either way, it was a fantastic Worlds Collide, a solid Money in the Bank. Naomi taking the briefcase, still an odd choice to me. Not undeserved at all, but odd. Odd because I don't see a title angle. Maybe if Jade ends up winning the title at some point, I guess it could work out. But right now, you have to consider the Naomi briefcase thing kind of a pin. Like, let's put a pin in it. And Naomi's briefcase is the pin right now. And she's going to utilize it. She's going to take on the Money in the Bank winner persona in a similar way that we've seen King of the Ring winners, become King Macho or, King Booker or whatever. And she'll probably use that gimmick for as long as until they have a, reason to make her cash in. But I just don't think it was the most, what's the word? Exciting is not the word I'm looking. Inspired. It wasn't the most inspired choice, I think, for Money in the Bank winner. I still think that, Naomi is solid and the work she's doing as a heel is terrific. But there was something there with Tiffany that you knew you could build on, right? the answers weren't there. So either Tiffany was going to fall flat on her face or she was going to succeed in a big way. That's what you have to do with Naomi as well. You have to put her in a position where you give her the booking, right? Abe said about Jacob Fatu, I'll wait to see what they do after to decide whether it was done right or not. And that's a fair point. I get that. It isn't the booking all the time that is the success. It's the how you respond to it, right? You look at AEW and their PLEs or pay-per-views, they knock them out of the park. Do they capitalize on Wednesday? I don't know if they do that well every time out. The Rock and Cody, Elimination Chamber, huge moment, right? How did they capitalize? Not very well. Not very well indeed. And so I think that we may be in for a month or so, or at least a couple weeks of some weird booking or maybe like fleshing out. But I don't know. I think the winner of the King of the Ring is obviously in a much better position than the Money in the Bank winner. You know, they stressed last night that you can wait up to a year to get that Money in the Bank shot. And now we know Money in the Bank next year going to be in August. What does that do for the booking of this year? You know, do we get an even later cash in than normal because there's a longer than a year between the next event? Do we get a cash in tomorrow? A lot of people are thinking Seth Rollins may cash in against the winner of Jay and Gunther tomorrow. That could very well be a situation. I don't think they're in a panic to get the belt off of Jay, but I do think they're looking for their out right now. I think they're looking for that out and they're saying to themselves, okay, if we can go out there and we can give people a reason to cheer for Jay as an underdog again, it's the same thing. He doesn't need the belt to be over. But Seth does kind of need the belt to fulfill what his faction is supposed to be. I agree with a lot of people who thought Jacob Fatu should have just climbed that ladder and grabbed that fucking briefcase for himself. I think the pop on that would have been huge. And look, after Money in the Bank, now that Money in the Bank's over, I need them to really, really step up with the creative in terms of the major storylines, right? There has to be a major storyline. Every single thing, every single era of wrestling, there is a major storyline, right? And right now, the two major storylines competing for SmackDown and Raw are Seth Rollins and his hostile takeover for what he considers as the greater good. And then you have John Cena attempting to take the belt and the lineage of the company away. I mean, one of them is a Raw problem and the other one is a WWE Universe problem. You tell me which one's bigger. You know, so I don't know. I just think the time is now. The time is now. It's the last time, or the last time is fastly approaching for them to make this John Cena thing count. And it really, really has missed the mark in a lot of ways. The best part of this whole John Cena run, and maybe this was his whole plan, but the best parts have been the other people involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, after Elimination Chamber, I feel like nothing's really hit the mark with John Cena, you know, other than the R-Truth stuff. And the Saturday Night Main Events was awesome for what it was. And then last night was about as big a pop as you'll ever see these days. I mean, I remember being a kid when the lights went off when I was a kid, you did not know who was coming out. You did not know when injuries were. I mean, look, I'm sure there was some 40-year-olds that were somehow, finding the dirt sheets back before AOL. But normally you don't, these days we know, who's coming out, who's coming back from injury. We know who is going to be under that hood like 4 out of 5 times. Last night, for everybody that claims to have known who it was, champ, that was a guess. That was your best guess. And you were right. And I'm not going to hate on it. I'm just saying that that story you didn't believe wasn't a story. That wasn't a story. It was real. R-Truth was being let go from the company, and they pivoted in a way that is similar to what they did with Cody and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 41, where The Rock tried to insert himself into the main event, and the WWE fandom turned on everybody. This is the same thing, bro. R-Truth was too important. They didn't realize it. But yeah, listen, so far, okay, so nobody's hopped on. That's all good. We will definitely be live tomorrow, 2 p.m. Actually, probably gonna be closer to 3 tomorrow. But tomorrow we will be likely live streaming. I don't know, man. I keep wanting to play WWE 2K25, but I don't know. I started playing Grand Theft Auto again, and it's like, fuck, this is so much fun. And honestly, like I gotta be ready for that Grand Theft Auto 6 to come out. So I don't know. Maybe we'll sharpen our skills tomorrow a little bit. I'm very, very rusty, so I need all the practice I can get in that one. But yeah, we will be live tomorrow. Remember, Infighting Exchange, spelled Infighting FX, on all platforms: IG, Facebook, Twitter, X, Insta. Did I say Twitch? YouTube, all of them. TikTok is the one that I'd love if you go and subscribe right now. Sight unseen. Don't worry about the videos. Don't worry about the content. Just go and subscribe. And yeah, but no, I'm just kidding. I've been posting, during wrestling, boxing, MMA, everything. Last night I was live for several hours. So I didn't post on TikTok last night because we were live. But yeah, I got a bunch of videos coming out this week, a lot of coverage coming out as well. And yeah, Infighting FX, tap in, hit the like, hit the follow, hit the subscribe, whatever it is, whatever platform. But you could really help me by going to TikTok and YouTube, typing in Infighting FX, and yeah, hitting that sub button, hitting that follow button. Y'all are the champs. Be live again tomorrow. If you want to tap in, the link will always be open for you to call in and get your call off. No need to ever download the app. Just simply copy and paste the link, put it into your browser, and bada bang, bada boom. Just let your cam or whatever allow access to your mic and cam, and that's it. You're done. Remember to go to fightsatw.com to check out my recaps from last night, as well as recaps from all the boxing events, all the stuff that Abe's got cooking, a bunch of interviews in the background ready to be posted. He's got one of the best rosters today of boxing coverage and writers. So yeah, tap into there, but we will be live again tomorrow. So until then, peace.